Breaking news: Jen Jones, the notorious rapper and love and hip-hop star, is on the verge of death following a vicious, life-threatening attack that has rocked the industry to its foundation. Sources close to the scene reveal shocking details of a deadly warning sent to Jim just days before the violent assault. Fans are left in complete shock as the situation becomes clear. Was this attack a planned act of retaliation, or is there something much darker happening behind the scenes in a shocking manner? There are rumors that this attack is only the beginning, and that the true story may be more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. Was Jim Jones the target of a deeper conspiracy? Could his life be in even greater danger than we thought? The emotions are running high as family, friends, and fans rally behind the fallen star. But questions remain as to who is responsible for this brutal act. Additionally, insiders have hinted that Jim's long-standing feud with fellow stars may have played a pivotal role in the violence that nearly took his life. The rumors about Jim Jones' life have been going around for weeks, but no one could have foreseen the shocking turn of events that has left fans and the industry in complete disbelief. It began with whispers that the rapper was in serious trouble, with rumors of enemies in the music industry and threats sent to him. But it all seemed too unbelievable to be true. And what will happen next? Stay tuned as we delve into the explosive details that you won't believe. This is a story you don't want to miss. Jim Jones has endured many hardships over the years, both personal and professional. But what happened a few days ago that led to his near-death experience started with a phone call. According to people familiar with the matter, Jim had received a terrifying warning just days before the vicious attack. The call was brief but clear. "You're next, Jones." There was no explanation or indication of who was responsible. This time, however, the threat wasn't just talk. It was a deadly warning that would change everything. Jim had been out at a private party with a few close friends the night of the attack. The atmosphere was light, and there was no sign that anything was wrong. The rapper reportedly dismissed the message, believing it to be nothing more than an empty threat. After all, he's been in the business long enough to know that many in this industry like to talk big, but few are ever willing to follow through. Unusual things were about to happen. The usual music, laughter, and companionship filled the air. But when Jim went outside for some fresh air, things took a drastic turn. What happened next is still unknown, but it is known that Jim was ambushed. According to sources, a number of armed and masked men attacked him without warning. And the brutal beating left him bleeding and on the verge of death. Rumors started to circulate about the attack's motivation right away. Some said it was a personal grudge, while others thought it had something to do with Jim's long-standing feuds within the industry. Jim Jones has never been one to back down from conflict, and his aggressive approach to business and personal relationships has made him both respected and feared. However, who could have taken things so far that Jim's fans were devastated when the news broke and social media was flooded with messages of support? People were praying for Jim's recovery and saying things like, "We need you to come back stronger." One fan wrote, "This world isn't ready to lose a legend." However, amid the love and well wishes, there was a growing the fact that Jim had received a death threat just days prior to the incident was unavoidable. And many people started to wonder if this was a message from someone in the industry who had a deep personal or professional grudge against him. One name that immediately surfaced in connection with the attack was Cameron, Jim's former Dipset partner. The two had been close for years, but their relationship had its no secret that there is animosity between them, even though the specifics of their fallout are still unclear. Some insiders have stated that Cameron and Jim had been at odds over business decisions, while others think the rift was more personal and involved betrayals and unspoken grievances. Whatever the cause, the tension between the two has been growing for years. And now that Jim's life is in jeopardy, many are wondering if Cameron was involved in planning the attack. But there's a twist. According to insiders, there are people In the music industry, who could have been involved in Jim's attack, some of whom had strong personal interests in seeing him fail? There have been rumors of money, power struggles, and covert agreements that could have led someone to go to great lengths to destroy Jim because of his success and unrepentant attitude, which have made him both dangerous enemies and devoted allies. And it appears that one of those adversaries may have finally taken action. As word of the attack spread, more information about what happened next emerged. Jim was critical condition, where medical professionals worked non-stop to stabilize him. His family members and fans, including his longtime partner Chrissy Lampkin, were left stunned and unable to comprehend what had happened. Chrissy had been by Jim's side through thick and thin. Her words, "He's a fighter," in a statement, "We won't give up on him," reflected the resolve of a woman who had witnessed Jim go through so much over the years but had never imagined something like this could happen. The media frenzy surrounding Jim's attack was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. She was devastated and reportedly sat by his bedside, holding his hand as doctors tried everything in their power to save him. Desperate to learn more about his condition, news outlets speculated about the attackers' identities and the reasons behind the attack. Some even suggested that Jim's past had caught up with him, and that this was the result of a career based on rivalry and conflict. The speculation was endless, but one thing was certain: this attack was not your typical act of violence. Insiders started discussing the power struggles occurring behind the scenes and the hidden agendas of those who stand to lose the most if Jim continues to rise to the top. But as the days passed and Jim's condition remained critical, another unsettling possibility started to take shape. Could this attack have served as a warning, not only to Jim, but also to others in the industry who dare to cross the wrong people? But some people still think that Cameron or other former as the investigation into the attack progresses. It becomes increasingly evident that Jim Jones' life was not only in jeopardy due to his physical injuries, but was also on the brink of collapse due to the web of deceit, power, and treachery that had encircled him for years. While some believe that allies may have been involved, others are certain that a much darker force is at work. Someone pulling the strings from the shadows to manipulate events for their own gain. It's obvious that this story is far from over. The music industry has been in disarray since Jim Jones' brutal attack. The days that followed were rife with rumors, and fans are more anxious than ever for answers. Jim is still in critical condition, and the startling possibility of a larger conspiracy still hangs over him. The attacks on his life weren't just random acts of violence, they were planned, and everyone is wondering why. Jim Jones's rise to power and influence has made him a target for some very dangerous people. Insiders suggest that Jim's rise to power and influence had made him a target for some very dangerous people. Jim has made enemies both inside and outside the music industry over the years. His blunt, no-nonsense approach to business and his open disdain for those he considered phony made him a polarizing figure loved by many. The ongoing feud between Jim Jones and Cameron is at the heart of the developing mystery. While many have dismissed their falling out as a typical case of two industry giants growing apart, others are starting to believe that their rivalry was more than just personal. It was professional, and it may have now escalated to deadly proportions. This attack, which is despised by some, goes beyond the typical industry rivalry. There are indications that the relationship between Cameron and Jim had been deteriorating long before Jim's attack, according to sources close to Cameron. Some say Cameron felt deceived by Jim's behind-the-scenes actions, while others suggest that Jim's ascent to the top was a challenge to Cameron's dominance in the industry. However, many people are unaware that Jim and Cameron's falling out wasn't just about business dealings or personal grievances concerning control over the years. Both rappers have based their careers on their diligence and devotion to their community. But as their fame grew, so did their egos. As their empire grew, their relationship deteriorated. Insiders have disclosed that both men were covertly fighting for control in the music industry. But neither of them wanted to give an inch. Their power struggle was quiet but genuine. And although Cameron has not yet responded to the accusations. There are rumors that he may have been behind the plot to assassinate Jim Jones. Could Cameron have planned this vicious attack as a means of regaining control over their shared legacy? To destroy a rival he perceived as a threat to his position in the industry. The growing tension between the two began as rumors of Cameron's involvement in the attack spread, leading fans and industry insiders to speculate on the extent of the animosity between the two. As the investigation into Jim's attack continues, other possible suspects have surfaced. While Cameron is unquestionably a prime suspect, there are others who stand to benefit from Jim's downfall. Sources within the music industry point to people who may have had the motivation and resources to orchestrate such a deadly plot. One name that keeps coming up in conversations is a well-known as the investigation progresses. There are growing suspicions that a member of Jim's own circle may have been involved in the attack. The producer, who wishes to remain anonymous, has a long-standing feud with Jim over a number of failed business deals. The producer reportedly had a personal vendetta against Jim after the rapper publicly criticized his work. The animosity between the two had been simmering for months, and many believe the producer could have played a key role in setting up the attack. Although this theory may seem unlikely, insiders claim that there were indications of betrayal within Jim's camp long before the attack happened. Several members of Jim's team have reportedly been acting strangely in the days following the assault. Some have gone silent, refusing to speak to the media or planning the attack. Some believe that someone with a hidden agenda had infiltrated Jim's inner circle, using their close relationship with the rapper to manipulate him and set him up for a fall. Others, who have been observed avoiding contact with the police or the media in order to respond to any inquiries regarding Jim's condition, have been observed acting tense or suspicious. This behavior has led some to speculate that there might be more to the story than first appears. Was Jim's attack actually the consequence of an outside threat, or was it a setup by someone in his own inner circle? The possibility of betrayal from within has cast a shadow over the investigation and is only adding to the growing sense of uncertainty surrounding Jim's attack as the days pass. The public is waiting for the truth to be revealed, and fans are desperate for answers as the plot thickens. Some people still think that Jim's fall was the product of an unnecessary industry rivalry. But others are beginning to see a more complicated picture. The question is no longer just who attacked Jim, it's also why they did it and who else might have been involved. The more you learn about Jim's life and career, the more you realize that this attack was far from random. It was meticulously planned, and there are influential people who will stop at nothing to ensure that Jim Jones never rises again. The mystery surrounding the attack is becoming more and more complex every day. The truth is out there, but it is buried beneath layers of deceit, treachery, and covert agendas. As the investigation goes on, one thing is certain: Jim Jones' life has been forever altered. Forever. Who will be here to keep you informed on every development in this shocking story? Fans are left wondering if Jim will survive the ordeal. His family and friends are holding out hope, but they know deep down that the road to recovery won't be easy. Jim has always been a fighter, but the battle he faces now is unlike any other, and the world is watching to see how it plays out. As the days pass since Jim Jones' brutal attack, the music industry is still on edge. What began as a shocking incident has quickly turned into something much more complex and sinister. And fans are still in shock that someone could have deliberately set out to harm a public figure like Jim, someone they once thought was untouchable. The entire incident has revealed dark undercurrents within the music industry, including betrayal. The investigation into Jim's attack has devolved into a tangle of contradictory accounts and leads that seem to go nowhere. And although some suspects have surfaced, the authorities are finding it more and more difficult to piece together the puzzle. Jealousy and retaliation are roiling in the air. And the truth is turning out to be far more complicated than anyone anticipated. Now, the question is not just who attacked Jim, but who stands to gain from his death, and what lengths will they go to cover their tracks. Sources close to Jim's inner circle have disclosed that several of his trusted allies have been acting suspiciously in the wake of the attack. While many of them are understandably devastated by what has happened, there are rumors that some of them may know more than they're letting on. In particular, there are growing concerns about Jim's business partner, a man who has worked alongside him for years. This is one of the most unexpected developments in the case. According to insiders, Jim had recently learned that his partner was involved in a number of dubious business dealings. The specifics of these dealings are still unknown, but it is thought that Jim may have confronted his partner about these dubious practices just before the attack. Was this confrontation a leading factor in the violent act that followed? Or could Jim's business partner have been responsible for the attack to silence him at the time? At this point, it's anyone's guess, but the possibility of internal betrayal is growing. The ongoing tension with Cameron is another factor contributing to the tension. While some people think Cameron may have been directly involved in the plot to kill Jim, others suspect that he may not have been the mastermind behind the attack. Instead, they suggest that Cameron and Jim had a falling out. But what if someone was using their feud as a pretext to attack? As the investigation progresses, a new theory has surfaced that has caught everyone off guard. According to sources close to Jim's team, the attack on Jim wasn't a random act of violence, but rather a carefully planned strategy to permanently remove him from the music industry. This theory suggests that Jim's increasing influence in the industry had made him the target of a powerful group of people who saw him as a threat to their own interests. These people are thought to have been willing to stop Jim's rise to power at any cost, whether this group consisted of rival artists, producers, or executives. It is obvious that Jim's attack wasn't motivated solely by personal resentment, but rather by the desire to destroy a rival. Jim's family has been visibly shaken in the days since the attack. His mother, who the drama surrounding Jim's condition has affected his relationships with family members, who are reportedly divided on how best to support him during this crisis. Some of Jim's closest friends are concerned that he may never be the same, while others are hopeful that he will persevere and continue to fight for his place in the music industry. Despite this, she has been a strong presence in Jim's life and has struggled to come to terms with what has happened. The emotional toll of witnessing her son fighting for his life has been devastating, and she has been vocal in her demands for justice. Jim Jones has been a major force in the music industry for years, known for his powerful presence, hard-hitting lyrics, and ability to make waves wherever he goes. His influence has touched countless artists, producers, and fans alike. In light of this sudden and violent attack, the entire industry is left wondering what it means for the future of music. Will the industry allow someone like Jim, who has been a cornerstone of hip-hop, to be taken down? Jim's career is over. Jim's former collaborators have had some of the most unexpected reactions to his attack. Following the attack, artists who had previously collaborated with Jim took to social media to express their shock and outrage. While some have offered their condolences and prayers, others have responded less tactfully. One artist had a public falling out with Jim several years ago, has been outspoken in his belief that Jim's attack was the result of actions. This artist, who has a long history of conflict with Jim, suggested that Jim's aggressive behavior and willingness to step on others to advance may have ultimately caused his downfall. The comments have generated a flurry of controversy, with both fans and industry insiders questioning the validity of this theory as the situation continues to unfold. The question of whether the attack was the result of a business rival seeking retribution, a personal grudge that was taken too far, or a calculated move by a powerful group that saw Jim as a threat remains unanswered. But regardless of the outcome, it is obvious that Jim Jones' life has been irrevocably changed. The effects of this attack will be felt for years to come in the music industry. And there is also the growing suspicion that Jim's attack may have been just the beginning. The world may have only seen the tip of the iceberg, and what lies beneath could be far darker than anyone ever imagined. With so many players involved and so many motives at play, it's difficult to not wonder who will be next. Could others be targeted in the wake of this attack? Could be the beginning of a larger war within the music industry where power struggles, betrayals, and deadly threats are the norm. Fans are watching closely, but so are those who know how the game is played. Some people are starting to think that Jim's near-death experience was not a random act of violence, but rather a well-planned move that was years in the making. The power players behind the scenes, those who have long remained in the shadows, starting to bring themselves and their plots to light as the Jones attack reaches a boiling point and new and even more terrifying revelations start to surface. The motivations behind Jim's attack are far more sinister than anyone could have predicted. It is no longer just about retaliation. It is about power, control, and a desire to destroy anyone who might challenge their dominance. One of the case's most startling developments has been the disclosure that a group of powerful figures in the entertainment industry, including some names that no one would have predicted, allegedly planned the attack. Sources close to Jim have implied that there were several people who stood to benefit from his downfall. People who felt the attack was not just a random act of violence. It was a message, an attempt to silence someone who was a threat to the status quo. It is thought that the mastermind behind the attack may be in the music industry, someone whose name has never been publicly associated with Jim before. This person, who is said to have a deep connection to the business side of the industry, allegedly orchestrated the attack by orchestrating the message. Jim's ascent to prominence, which had been primarily independent of the major labels, was perceived as a challenge to the established power structures that have dominated the industry for decades. These influential people saw Jim's success as a threat that needed to be eliminated. So the attack was not just about getting even. It was also about sending a message to anyone else who might be considering going off the grid and doing things their own way. It was part of a larger plan to regain control over the music market. His family is still at the center of this drama, and it's evident that the attack has had a significant impact on his loved ones. His mother, in particular, has been outspoken in her outrage, saying that she believes someone close to Jim betrayed him, someone he completely trusted. Although she hasn't named anyone, there are growing suspicions that Jim's inner circle may have been compromised. Certain members of it's becoming more difficult to determine who is actually on Jim's side as the investigation goes on, raising the possibility that someone in camp was responsible for the attack. According to reports, Jim had recently grown suspicious of a few people who had been working closely with him. Did Jim know that there were people in his circle who weren't loyal? If so, how could he have known who to trust? It's a direct result of an internal power struggle. But what if it was something more? Could Jim have unintentionally discovered something much larger that extends beyond his immediate circle and into the heart of the music industry? He has reportedly been in the process of making some significant changes to his team, firing some of his most trusted associates and bringing in new faces. The two had a well-publicized feud that had appeared to settle down, but it's evident that their past still hangs over them both. Could Cameron's silence be a sign that he was involved in the attack, or is it just a calculated move to avoid adding to the already intense drama that has engulfed their relationship? Some fans have conjectured that Cameron might, others are beginning to wonder if the timing of the attack indicates that someone was trying to manipulate the situation to their advantage. What if Cameron wasn't the intended target at all? What if someone was using their feud as a distraction to hide the true mastermind behind the attack? It's also important to note that Cameron's social media presence has been a source of intrigue. In the wake of the attack, Jim Jones is fighting for his life, posting cryptic messages that have only served to fuel the rumors surrounding his involvement as more information about Jim's attack becomes available. It's becoming more and more obvious that the conspiracy surrounding his involvement is real. Some fans think that Cameron's posts are just part of his normal persona, while others are certain that he's trying to convey a hidden message to the public. Could Cameron be trying to communicate with someone through these posts, or is he just playing into the chaos that has erupted in the wake of Jim's attack? The investigation is still ongoing, but it's obvious that there will be many more twists to come. The music industry, which is already full of drama and competition, is now involved in one of its most dangerous and high-stakes battles. But Jim Jones' fate still hangs in the balance, and the list of suspects keeps growing. Initially thought to be a random act of violence, is now being part of a larger plot to take down one of the most influential figures in hip-hop. As the drama unfolds, fans, family, and industry insiders are left wondering what the real motivation is. Is vendetta a business move, or a combination of both? Who can Jim trust, and who is attempting to destroy him from the inside out? One thing is for sure, Jim's life will never be the same again as a result of this incident. And the fallout, the effects of this catastrophe, will last for years. Amid all of this commotion, will Jim ever fully heal from the psychological and bodily wounds caused by this vicious assault? He will be held accountable for the scheme against him, and possibly the majority of crucially as the probe goes on. Who will win the struggle for dominance of the music industry? One thing is certain, the stakes are higher than ever. The world is watching, the drama is far from over. And what? As this astonishing story comes to a close, the questions surrounding Jim Jones could change everything. Still no answers to the near-death experience? Was this a personal grudge, an intentional action by business insiders, or something more sinister that we haven't, however? The mystery remains unsolved, and the drama is far from finished. We now want your opinion? Do you believe that Jim was set up by a personal friend or family member? Or is there a larger conspiracy at play? Who do you think is responsible for this attack? And what do you think will happen next in this risky game? Please share your ideas in the comments section below so that we can discuss them. If you're surprised by what you just heard, and remember to subscribe so you don't miss any of the most recent information. Look forward to more. Since the industry is evolving and we're not done yet, you won't want to miss what comes next. Here to deliver the most amazing stories to you. See you in the next